Hello. This first of five linked podcasts looks at the early years of the Nazi Party. There's the mind map there. You'll see that on the in the folder in Frog, so you can download that. And basically, the podcasts will work the way through from top right, who were the Nazis, to the birth of the party, Hitler takes control, and the crisis year, and finishing with the Munich Putsch. So we're rotating around in that way. So first of all then, who were the Nazis? Those are the key points. We looked at that in the session, the revision session at the end of last week. I put this in as an extra slide. Just wanted to clarify one or 2 points. It's what we call the social pyramid. It's just a way of making you understand the population of a country, in this case Germany. We represent it as a pyramid. At the bottom you've got the largest group, the working classes. The reason that they're at the bottom is because they are basically the bottom of the food chain, so to speak, in terms of the pecking order. There's a description to the right, paid a wage. They wouldn't own their own property, they'd be rent payers. Not always, but on the whole, generally at that time, the early 20th century, living in poor living conditions, would probably have no more than a basic education. And certainly from the viewpoint of many of the working classes, and it's a nice word for you to use, often exploited by their bosses. Now, who were the bosses? The bosses were the people upstairs, the middle classes. In contrast to the working classes, rather than be paid a wage, they would probably be paid a salary, a monthly salary. Rather than be rent payers, they would probably own their own property. Generally speaking, living fairly comfortable lives, well educated, and using that education, for example, university degrees to get a professional job. So whether that be bank, law, accountancy, civil service, teacher, etc., etc., or they may be in their own business. They may actually own the business. So that would cover a wide range of people, from a small shopkeeper, he's a business owner, she is a business owner, although in those days it would be predominantly a male area, or a very successful businessman who owns a large factory, or even a group of factories. So middle class can cover a wide range of wealth. And then at the top you've got the upper classes. Now, the reason the pyramid gets high as we go up is partly because they have more status, they are seen to be more important, that's why they're called the upper classes, but also they are the smaller group. Okay, so relatively small. We don't really mention the upper classes very much. In Germany, the upper classes would be the big landowners, often wealthy farmers who were from a very privileged background. Their family name would give them status, an old family, perhaps a noble family. And you would tend to see the upper classes filling the top jobs in government, and in particular in the German army, and in the German Navy, the top jobs, the generals, etc. You wouldn't be able to get those jobs unless you actually were from the upper classes. So we still use these terms today in England. They still apply in England today. There's no judgment attached to these terms, but we talk about them as being social classes. So, for example, in England today, our Queen is upper class. She is a monarch. She is a large landowner. She's from a noble family, etc. We have middle classes in England today. We have working classes in England today. I suppose the major change is hopefully that the low end of the pyramid, they don't live in such poor living conditions as they did 100 years ago, but again, not necessarily so. Now, on the left of this diagram, I've just highlighted the fact that you've got the left wing, the working classes, on the whole, although not always, you mustn't generalise, were left-wing. In other words, they were socialist and internationalist, and on the right of and the middle and upper classes, on the whole, were right-wing. So I've highlighted that there, i.e. nationalist and capitalist. So what do those terms mean? Okay, so the key left-wing terms. Talking in very general terms here, but just making sure you understand these key terms. Key left-wing terms. Okay, so these are the terms these are the ideas that we tend to associate with the working classes. Okay, first of all, the working classes are often socialist. This is the belief that wealth should be shared more equally. The middle classes and upper classes give their wealth to the working classes. Okay. Now, extreme socialism is called communism. In other words, the redistribution of wealth is such that effectively the middle classes and upper classes would give pretty much all of their wealth over to the working classes. So therefore, a country would become a classless society. So that's the concept of socialism. Most socialists are moderate. It's just a question of degree of redistributing wealth. Okay. Socialists are often internationalist. Okay, this is the belief that national boundaries are not so good. In other words, the boundary, say, between Germany and France, that's bad because that gets in the way of ordinary of people communicating to each other and getting on well together. That people of one country should work with people of other countries. So the reason that socialists are often internationalists is they believe that the workers, the people at the bottom of the pyramid, are often exploited, taken advantage of by the rich, and therefore the French workers and the German workers are actually friends. They should be working together against the rich of the world. So the catchphrase of socialism and of the communist movement is workers of the world unite. Okay. Then on the right you've got the right-wing terms, and remember that it's in the middle and the upper classes who often but not always would be more on the right wing of the spectrum. Often capitalist, again a good word to use. This is the belief that if you basically work hard for your wealth, you should be allowed to keep that wealth. Okay, you've used your initiative, you put your effort into it, that why should you be giving it, much of it, to the working classes? Now again, we're talking in general terms here. This is not to say that the middle classes are selfish. Most middle classes would very happily give some of their wealth to help the poor. So there are degrees within the political spectrum. Moderate middle classes believe, yes, you should give some of your wealth to help the poor, but extreme middle class, extreme capitalist, on the right-hand side of the spectrum, would argue that that is not good. So you've got degrees of capitalism in there. And then nationalism, if you bear in mind that it's the opposite of internationalism. So this is the belief that national boundaries are good, that all the people of one country should unite together to make their country strong. Class differences must not be allowed to weaken the country. So the working classes and the middle classes, say, of Germany should pull together. They should not be against each other. They should be working together to make the country strong. So it's what we call patriotism. Is the first duty of all. And again, degrees of nationalism. Moderate nationalists, believe that rivalry between countries is good in a friendly way. Extreme nationalists, and we'll move on to the Nazis now, actually believe that rivalry between countries is necessary and would actually believe that war is a good thing, but that is extreme nationalism on the very right of the spectrum. So who were the Nazis? Okay, well, they were a German political party. They were formed in 1919. Their full name was the National Socialist German Workers' Party. In German, that is National Socialist Deutsche for German, Arbeiter, that's Arbeiter for Workers, Party, NSDAP. Try to learn the initials NSDAP. You don't need to know it in German, but know it, the full title. National Socialist German Workers' Party, in short, the Nazis, as we know, led by Adolf Hitler. And in terms of the political spectrum, where did they lie? They lay very much here, as you can see, on the extreme right wing. So there's the diagram that we drew last time. We used it in the previous presentation. You've got the moderates in the middle, who the new government of Germany, the republic led by Aber, which broadly speaking was moderately left wing. On the extreme left, you've got the communists, who are an extreme socialist group. They hate the republic because it is not doing enough to redistribute wealth from the rich to the poor. And on the extreme right, you've got the nationalists. Now, we spoke about the Freikorps. The Freikorps are an example of nationalists. Think about what we said. Nationalists believe in fighting for your country, pulling together in patriotism. And the Nazis are very much on the extreme right. Just taking a look here at their full name again, you know they're on the extreme right because it's got the word national there and it's got the word German there. They very much believe in all German people pulling together, putting aside their differences. The workers and the middle classes should work together. They are nationalist. They are very, very right wing. Don't be confused by the word socialist and workers. Okay, that would suggest that they're left wing. Actually, the word socialist and workers were really just put in there to try to get mass support for their ideas, to try to get ordinary workers, remember to think of our pyramid and the large group at the bottom, to try to pull the workers away from socialist ideas towards nationalist ideas. And so there's the mind map. As I say, when you do mind maps, try to make it as visual as possible. Okay, that's the end of this first podcast. There are 4 more, which will take you through the other features of the early life of the Nazi Party. Thank you.